Planted tanks. You will fail. Get over it. Hey guys, welcome to another Aquachat. This is an aquarium channel, so if you want to get better at aquariums or learn about aquariums and stuff like that and you're new here, hit that subscribe button and importantly hit that bell icon because that will let you know when I get new videos or have live feeds going. Also remember, if you're a subscriber here, please hit that like button and share it where you can and leave a comment down below about any topics I talk about here today. So, planted aquariums. Why did I say you will fail and you should get used to it? Because basically that is how you learn. Now, ever since doing these videos and stuff, I talked to a lot of you guys and I get a lot of questions about planted tanks because that's mainly what I do. Planted tanks, doing videos about planted tanks and how to get into it and stuff like that. Now, one thing I noticed that there's a trend of is a lot of people come to watch my channel and say, oh, I want to start a planted tank. I'm trying to get as much information as I can. I want to have a Dutch tank just like you. You know, stuff like that. And then I asked them, well, why don't you? And there's always that, well, I'm trying to get as much information as I can. I'm afraid to do it. I don't think I could do it. And I'm going to say simply right now is that, yeah, you can do it. And second, you're going to fail at doing it. Third, you're probably going to fail hard at doing it. Fourth, if you're lucky, you're not going to fail hard, but you'll learn a lot even as you're failing. 5, that's how I learned. All planted tank enthusiasts and aquascapers, and especially those, great aquascapers that you see and so inspiring and stuff like that, they started where you were at. No one popped out of the mama and say, I am a planted tank guy. I know how to aquascape. I'm Takashi Amano, reincarnated. Okay, that just doesn't happen. They started where you were at, knowing nothing. And they became great. Why? Because they failed. But they didn't stop. They kept going and they kept learning. So what's this video about? Simply stop worrying about the little things. 10% of making great planted tanks is just getting the information, learning that stuff. 90% of it is all by experience, and that's where you're going to learn the most about what to do. You'll find that some plants have the basic commonalities, and that if you grow stem plants, most stem plants will go the same. If you understand how rhizome plants grow, then you'll kind of learn how all the rhizome plants grow, how they eat, how they survive, how much lighting they need. So if you suddenly come to a new plant that you've never tried, never planted before, you're going to look at it and you're going to say, oh, well, this is just like this or just like that. Maybe this will work, or I know kind of how to get it started. And all that you learn from experience. So stop piddling around and just plant your damn tank. There are some people out there that are saying, well, I gotta do this, I gotta learn that, I gotta do this. Just do it already and then just learn from experience and you will fail. But most importantly, learn from that failure. Listen, I'm gonna tell you a story, and this is how basically I got started in the planted tanks. So hopefully this won't get long. And also excuse the photos. Now, these photos are taken years ago and the cameras and technology back then wasn't as great as it is now. Hell, we're still using flip phones and we thought that was really, really cool. So just a little quick setup. I've grown up, in my probably early teen years with a fish tank, but that was my mom's fish tank. And it was a goldfish fish tank. And it was a fish tank that didn't have plants, that didn't have decorations, marble as gravel, and then she put goldfish in it. Like, fancy goldfish because we're Asian and Asians do that. But it's an Asian thing. Let's just leave it at that. One of my past business partners were actually into planted tanks. And he had a really gorgeous 120-gallon discus planted tank. And I was intrigued and I'm like, you know what? I used to have fish. I could figure this out. And so that's where it mainly all started. He was a planted tank guy, so that got me into planted tanks. So I started out with getting a Eclipse 12. It's a 12-gallon tank and it had a built-in filter with the light and everything. I changed out the lighting originally because when I first talked to my friend, he's like, you're going to need more lighting than what comes with that tank. So I did that. And so what he did was he set me up with all his clippings, right? After, one trimming of his tank for a week. So what you see here is just a Mod Podge of plants. As I planted this, I learned a lot of things. First of all, there's things that you can't plant, things you can plant. Like, for example, a lot of some weird reason, the Kabama, I always have worse luck with them, were dying off. But I was able to just pull them out, or I save some stems and then move on. This is the tank again, about a couple of months later, because I changed some stuff. I went out and bought plants instead of using his trimming, because I want to try some other stuff. The stuff he gave me was actually great. I learned a lot from them, and you'll still see some of those plants in this tank here. But I went and bought some, Amazon compacta. As you can see, some Rotalia there. And I didn't know much about plants back then, and I barely knew their names. So I know them now just by looking at them. But that's what I'm saying is that if you talked to me back then when I put this tank together, I would have no idea. I couldn't identify these plants. But now I have a good idea of what I bought back then, which is kind of cool, right? And you see there in the right back corner there, I think there's some kind of hygrophila. I don't remember exactly what it was. But again, just by looking at it, it's the stuff that you learn. Up in front, you have a cryptochlorine, and I believe there is a Java fern over on the left of the tank there. But again, it's all about learning, it's all about failing, and then learning from what you failed on. Now, if we go to the next one, you'll notice that a lot of Rotalia died. Okay, again, I wasn't ferning the tank, and that was one of the biggest problems. I didn't know it back then, but I know it now. So as you see, the Rotalia died back, so I had to kind of trim out the herd a little. And at this point, when that happened, I was like, well, maybe I need CO2. So as you can tell, I set up a do-it-your-own, old school do-it-your-own CO2. So that kind of worked a little, and it gave the plants a little life. And again, we switch up the tank again. This is about a couple months later. As you can tell, the live breeders actually breeded. So I had a bunch of little tiny swords. I think they're swords and mollies. I don't remember. I mean, you fish people, if you look at the fish, you probably know, be able to tell better than I can. As you can tell, I did change up some plants. As you can tell, I got a Winterlove in there somewhere. But again, a lot of these plants died out. I mean, you saw how much plants was in there before versus how much plants in there now. I had to pull a lot out, put some new ones back in, and it was a whole learning process. For this, about 4 months of this tank, of having this tank, I had to learn a lot of things, and I failed a lot of times. So that's how I learned all the things that I learned now, that I know now. Now moving on, finally, this was kind of the final reincarnation of the tank, or the final stages of this tank before I tore it down and I moved. This was back in my old apartment. As you can tell, I changed out the fish, got some Serpes and some neon tetras, and I put a backing on the tank just to get that blue hue, and it looks pretty good. I mean, the plants are still struggling a little. I'm still trying to figure everything out. Now this is my 6-gallon Eclipse 6. Now I went and bought a 6-gallon version of the 12-gallon tank because I wanted to try more stuff. I want to try aquascaping now, as you can tell here, because I wanted to do a path down the middle, rocks, to make it look like a river, a riverbed or something like that. As you can tell, using the bigger rocks. And I started to stick to the really easy low light plants. You can see here, I got cryptochlorines, Anubias, Java moss. I'm starting to learn now what type of environments that the plants could grow in. This is when I started to get it. You get that little ding in your head, and you're like, okay, I'm starting to get this, moving along. Sure, I killed a lot of plants, but at least I'm learning. So this is when I moved to the new place. So that was the 12-gallon. I'm resetting this 12-gallon up. Had a whole aquascape in mind. I wanted to do a better planted tank, so what I did was use, I believe, Seachem fluorite. As you can tell, it's that red gravel. I love that color. And underneath it, I put laterite. Now, laterite is the dirtiest thing you can ever mess with on a fish tank. I don't even know if we still use laterite in the hobby anymore. I haven't heard anyone use that stuff. I want to set this tank up. I wanted this to be my angel tank. Little did I know back then, angels grow pretty big. But I got them as babies, but when they grew big, I kind of gave them away to the fish store and got other fish and started different tanks and stuff. As you can tell, I do jump tanks a lot. I do change them up a lot or reset them again over and over again. Every like 2 or 3 months, I tend to do that with the smaller tanks back then. And that's pretty much what I settled into: Wisteria, Kabamba, the Rotala, Anubias, the cryptochlorine, as you can tell. But this became one of my favorite tanks. When it really grew out, it grew out. I don't have a picture of it though. This is my reef tank. This is when I first got it. I started it up, and then I was going to start putting corals in it, but then that's when I started getting out of the hobby. And that has a whole thing to do with right now, when I moved in this new place, I was with my girlfriend back then. She moved in with me, and we did this together. Okay, so of course, when we broke up, the interest started waning. Okay, but I had mushrooms going here. I was supposed to start getting corals. I have an enemy down there with a clownfish. You know, your typical reef setup. I was trying to really build this up, but it never happened. Now, this was the big project. It was when I accumulated all my knowledge, that everything I taught myself, and then I passed on to my girlfriend back then, because she started getting into it because I was into it. So it was a nice couple thing to do. So what happened was, my business partner got a new 140 gallon, I think it was, and he had a whole new setup, and he said, hey, take the 120, have fun with it. So we did. We took it home, and here it is. When we started doing this tank up, we wanted to really concentrate on the centerpiece, wanted to really plant this tank up. I mean, literally just stuff with plants, get that jungle look. It was going to be a community fish tank. And here we are setting up the centerpiece. We were putting, I believe, a lot of Anubias on it as well. We kind of stuck some, I think we stuck some cryptochlorines on top of it, but it was mainly Anubias, Java fern, and Java moss. And this is how it turned out. This is how what we created out of our little creative imagination or what have you. Now, this is when we got the haul. This is definitely the haul, right? I ordered a plant package from, I think it was Arizona Plant. They're still around. I've seen them around. But that, guys, is a haul. And that is what it looked like after it was planted. Everything was put in. This was, I think, about 2 weeks after we set up the centerpiece. As you see there, the centerpiece is pretty much grown in. You see the Java fern already growing on top. And there's the centerpiece. And look at all that stuff around. And look at all the swords. It was a gorgeous tank. We just loved this tank. It had tons of lighting. It was compact fluorescence back then, but we had 4 or 5 90 watts going on there. And we were pumping CO2 in there using a in-tank reactor. And that is what it looks like from far away. This is when we just planted everything in. Nice and green and lush. And this is a month later. Everything just grown the heck in. Look at all that Kambamba. It is crazy. The Reptalia just going straight and up, and it kept going. It was a really nice and fun project. Definitely had a lot of fun with this and learned a lot from it. And we see this is what I'm talking about. You got to actually do it to learn how the plants grow, how to take care of the plants, and how they need to take in nutrients, how they need to take in CO2, how they need to take in light. Me telling you is only like a quarter of the battle. You have to actually experience this stuff and actually enjoy doing it to create wonderful, lush planted tanks, and then hopefully get into aquascaping, and then because you really have to understand how plants grow to really understand how to aquascape much better, and do it as good as those people that you see out there. So that is my story. This is how I learned how to do planted tanks. And that's how you get there. You got to jump in and try it, guys. Just jump in. Don't worry about all the little things, okay? Because you got guys like me, like at Dustin Fish Tank, all those guys around here that will help you with your planted tanks. So don't be afraid to do that. So there's tons more tips and tricks and all that stuff that you can learn from this channel. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon if you're new here. Remember, guys, it helps me out if you like this video, as well as leave comments and share it about. Especially share it to someone that you know that's on the fence about, planted tanks. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching, and remember, stay wet with your tanks. Have fun out there.